Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video here on 609 Sports Talk here on YouTube. Of course, I am Sam Nelson, and in today's video, I want to talk about the trade that went down yesterday afternoon between the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. So, of course, we all know by now the Eagles have traded pass rusher Bryce Huff to the 49ers for what is being called a mid-round pick. I'm assuming it is something that is either it probably could be into the 2027 draft. It's probably some type of like sixth round pick that could turn into a fifth with some type of conditions and Huff's playing time and maybe sack numbers. It's probably something of that nature. The Eagles also do save some cap space, but it's not to the point of what Field Yates said of $15 million. I don't know the numbers for sure, so I'm not going to sit here and try and guess for you guys, so I give you false information. But the $15 million in cap savings is not very accurate. But now let's look at this from the Eagles side first. We all know the Eagles gave Bryce Huff a big 3-year, $51 million contract in last year's offseason, basically, essentially trying to make him the Hassan Reddick replacement before they ended up trading him to the Jets. Now, of course, that did not happen. Bryce Huff, from the moment he got to Philly, just was not a scheme fit for Vic Fangio's defense. Huff is a third down pass rush specialist, in my opinion, to where he wants to put his hands in the dirt like a D end and come off low and just burst it after the quarterback. In Fangio's system, their pass rushers stand up more. They don't put their hands in the dirt. They start up high and they rush off that edge. Not to mention, they were paying Bryce Huff to be more of a 3-down player. He is not that, because against the run, I'm sorry, and Niner fans, I hope you can help improve him in this area, but Bryce Huff against the run is absolutely atrocious, and I hate to say that, but it's just what it is. But as a third-down pass rush specialist, you get some value out of him in those areas. But at the end of the day, the writing was really on the wall was when Bryce Huff was inactive for Super Bowl 59 against the Chiefs. He was a healthy scratch. I mean, he did not play well all season. He did have a wrist procedure in the middle of the year, came back, still didn't play well. But the writing was on the wall when they decided to make him a healthy scratch. And then not to mention, this offseason, with Brandon Graham retiring and all these other things that have happened, the Eagles still felt comfortable to add 3 new edge rushers to their depth chart. They signed Joshua Uche, who spent time with the Chiefs and Patriots this year. They signed Azeez Ojulari, who was with the Giants this past year and is coming off a year where he had 6 sacks. And they drafted Antoine Powell-Ryland out of Virginia Tech late in this year's draft. He had very high sack production numbers at Virginia Tech, and they are very high on him, apparently. And, of course, Ojulari, he's got that Georgia Bulldog background, as our Philly Bulldogs all do. So they've added a lot of depth to the edge rusher position. And another reason that the Eagles felt comfortable making this move is the emergence of Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt. I mean, Nolan Smith going into last year, kind of a question mark, kind of a down rookie year. Granted, the defensive coaching staff in 2023 compared to this past year was night and day, but he's coming off. He had 6.5 sacks during the regular season, but then his star just rose more in the postseason where he had 4 sacks. And they felt really comfortable about going into next season with him as a full-time player. Another one that really turned heads as the season got older was Jalen Hunt, who they kind of were expecting to redshirt him this year after signing Bryce. When they signed Bryce Huff, they thought that Huff and maybe Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham would be the top 3 edge rushers. But after Brandon Graham went down and Bryce Huff was still recovering from that wrist injury, Jalen Hunt got more playing time and just took advantage of it from day one. I mean, in the Super Bowl, he had a few pressures and a half a sack. And now the Eagles are really excited about his development heading into year 2. And from the way the depth chart's looking, Hunt and Smith are looking like they're going to be your starting edge rushers on the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, Ojulari will be there. He'll be a third-down pass rush guy. Uche, basically the same thing. And Powell-Ryland right now could be the 5th guy. Now, will the Eagles look into possibly adding a veteran to this room? It's very possible. I mean, just real quickly here on my notes, some of the more notable guys that are available as free agent edge rushers, you have Von Miller, who is still trying to play another season and has a lot of, I'm pretty sure he played in Vic Fangio's system at some point. So he's got some familiarity with him. Matthew Judon's out there. Both the Smith brothers, Preston and Za'Darius. DeMarcus Walker is still out there. Jadeveon Clowney was just released, and he's been pretty productive over these past few years in Baltimore and in Carolina. So if the Eagles wanted to add a veteran edge rusher, there's some solid names to pick from there. But at the end of the day, this whole thing just comes down to Bryce Huff did not fit Vic Fangio's scheme from the jump. From the moment he got here, he just never fit. And unfortunately, this is another free agent signing that just didn't work out in the end. But the Eagles do have two really good young edge rushers in Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. And I'm really excited to see their development into year 2 for Hunt and year 3 for Nolan Smith. I like Azeez Ojulari. I loved him coming out of Georgia. I liked him on the Giants. I'm glad the Eagles were able to snag him. I think he'll be a great third edge rusher and probably your number one backup edge rusher, especially as a pass rush specialist. Uche, kind of iffy if he even makes the team. Powell Ryland, I really like the production of Virginia Tech. Forced fumbles, sack numbers was all there. Biggest knock on him is his arms are a little shorter than most pass rushers, but I think he's going to be able to carve out a nice little role here. And with the way the Eagles developed Jalix Hunt last year, why can't Powell Ryland come right in and maybe be a contributor somewhere down the road in his first season? Now the question is, do they add a veteran? Most likely they could, and they probably will. It's the Eagles. You can never have too many defensive linemen in Howie Roseman's head. Now, let's go look at this for the 49ers. So the 49ers do not have the deepest room when it comes to edge rushers. You know, of course, you got Nick Bosa, who's easily one of the top 3 pass rushers in football. I don't argue me that. If you're arguing it, you're just insane. He's one of the best edge rushers in the league. And they have been desperately trying to find someone opposite of him. And I think they got the perfect one, and Georgia defensive end Mykel Williams in the draft. But outside of Williams and Bosa, they really are thin behind them. The only legitimate depth piece they had was former Panthers defensive end and former Penn State standout Yetur Gross-Matos, who he's carved out a solid NFL career, but he's a very good depth piece. If he's your starter, you're probably very thin at defensive end. So putting him as your first depth piece and now having Bryce Huff, that's a pretty solid 4-man rotation, because Bryce Huff now will probably just be a third down pass rush specialist, which that's what he's best at. He's not good against the run, so making him a 3-down player is really not realistic. And his one really good season in the NFL came in 2023, where he had 10 sacks and a high pressure rate. Granted, it was in limited snaps, but who was his head coach with the Jets that year? Current returning 49ers defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. And Saleh put him in that position. He went with his strength. He made him a pass rush specialist on third down. And Bryce Huff took advantage of that. And he was a really good pass rusher that year. The Eagles wanted him to be a 3-down guy, and he just didn't turn into that. But if he goes now to San Francisco, Bosa is going to be on one end. Mykel Williams will be on the other. You'll have Gross-Matos on one side for depth, and you'll have now Bryce Huff. So if Saleh just takes him and puts him back as that third down pass rush specialist, I think the Niners can get a lot of value out of Bryce Huff. So, guys, those are my thoughts on the Bryce Huff trade that happened yesterday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget, 609 Sports Talk is live every Monday here on YouTube and over on Facebook, no matter where you prefer to listen, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And the podcast is also available on Spotify. New episodes drop every Wednesday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.